Welcome back, my dear and very important viewers. Let's go to another exciting and eye-opening video, where we dive deep into the fascinating world of rare and valuable coins that could be hiding right in your pocket change. Today, we're talking about a coin that might look simple and ordinary at first glance, the 1964 Lincoln cent, but this tiny 1-cent piece has an unbelievable story behind it. Some examples of this coin have been valued at an astonishing $320 million due to the combination of its rare mint errors, striking mistakes, and mysterious variations that have puzzled collectors, historians, and numismatists for decades. So sit back and stay tuned till the end, because this story will change the way you look at the pennies you see every day. The 1964 Lincoln cent might just be one of the most extraordinary coins in American history. It was minted during a period of major transitions in U.S. coinage and economics. The Denver Mint, marked by the small d mint mark just below the date, was in full production during 1964. Millions upon millions of Lincoln cents were struck that year, yet, out of those countless coins, a few possess unique characteristics that make them worth far more than anyone could imagine. Imagine a coin with a face value of just 1 cent being worth hundreds of millions of dollars. What could possibly make that happen? It's not just luck, it's the combination of history, human error, and the unpredictable magic of minting. To understand why the 1964 penny has become so valuable, we first need to look back at the historical context. In 1964, America was going through a major shift in coin production due to rising metal prices and the government's concern about coin shortages. The U.S. Mint was operating around the clock to meet demand, and during this hectic period, many coins were struck with small but significant imperfections. Sometimes the minting dies wore out, sometimes they were reused or overpolished, and sometimes the planchets, the blank metal discs, were slightly off in weight or composition. Any one of these errors could result in a coin that looks subtly different from the rest. And when it comes to coin collecting, those small differences can mean everything. The Denver Mint, where the 1964 penny was produced, was one of the busiest facilities of the time. It churned out billions of coins, and among them, a few pieces came out with astonishing mistakes. Some had doubled dies where parts of the design appear twice due to a misalignment during the striking process. Others had repunched mint marks, where the D on the coin appears doubled or slightly misplaced. And then there were off-center strikes, die cracks, and even transitional errors, cases where leftover metal compositions from previous years accidentally got used. Each of these factors could turn an ordinary penny into a priceless piece of numismatic art. Now imagine a coin that combines multiple rare characteristics: a double die obverse, a repunched mint mark, a slightly off-center strike, and a high-quality copper planchet that has maintained its original shine and luster for decades. That's the kind of perfect storm that can elevate a coin's value from a single cent to millions. Collectors and experts have long searched for these elusive 1964 Lincoln cents that display these rare features. The combination of errors, rarity, and historical importance makes them nearly mythical. But what exactly makes this particular coin worth an estimated $320 million? It's the story behind one of the few 1964 Lincoln cents that shows multiple minting anomalies, along with a nearly flawless preservation state graded by professional coin grading services as a perfect, or near perfect mint state. Such a grade is almost impossible to achieve, especially for coins that are over half a century old. Coins like this not only capture the interest of collectors but also investors and museums. They are pieces of history, frozen in time, representing a moment when craftsmanship met error, and value was forever transformed. Let's break down some of the most fascinating and valuable error possibilities found in the 1964 Lincoln cent. One of the most famous types is the double die error. This occurs when the coin die, which stamps the design onto the blank planchet, strikes it twice slightly off from the original position. The result is that features like the date, the word liberty, or "In God We Trust" appear doubled. On some 1964D examples, this doubling is visible even to the naked eye, a clear sign of minting imperfection that transforms a penny into a priceless artifact. Another important type of error is the repunched mint mark, or RPM. In the 1960s, mint marks were still hand-punched onto the dies, which means human error was always possible. Sometimes the mint mark D was struck more than once or placed at a slightly different angle. These small variations are like a fingerprint from the past, proving that every die was unique. In some cases, you can see a faint shadow of the D slightly below or beside the main one. For collectors, this isn't a flaw, it's a treasure. There are also transitional and planchet errors. During this era, the composition of the penny was shifting between different mixtures of copper and zinc. Some planchets may have been left over from earlier mint runs or made with slightly different metal ratios. This could result in pennies that weigh a bit more or less than standard or have a different color tone, perhaps more reddish or even silvery if struck on the wrong metal. One of the theories surrounding the $320 million specimen is that it was accidentally struck on a foreign planchet or a leftover from another denomination, giving it a metallic composition unlike any other 1964D penny known. Then we have die cracks and cuds, natural byproducts of the minting process. As dies aged and began to crack, small raised lines or blobs of metal could appear on the finished coins. These weren't supposed to happen, but when they did, they created one-of-a-kind pieces. Some 1964D pennies show fascinating cracks that run through Lincoln's portrait or around the rim, giving them unique visual appeal. Collectors often pay thousands just for coins with interesting die breaks, especially when combined with other notable features. Now let's talk about condition, one of the biggest factors that determine a coin's value. Even with errors, a coin's worth depends heavily on how well it has been preserved. Most 1964D pennies were circulated heavily, losing their mint shine, collecting scratches, and wearing down over time. But a small number survived in pristine condition, uncirculated, untouched, and perfectly preserved. These are known as mint state coins, and when they also contain major minting errors, they can become some of the most desirable coins in existence. Experts have found that when such a rare coin appears at auction, competition is fierce, and prices can skyrocket beyond imagination. Collectors aren't just paying for the metal, they're paying for the story, the history, and the sense of owning something that almost no one else in the world has. Every mint mark and imperfection tells a tale of human craftsmanship, mechanical precision, and the occasional slip of the hand that creates something unrepeatable. The 1964D Lincoln cent represents not just monetary value but a living connection to America's minting heritage. Another element that drives up the value of these coins is their mysterious nature. Some believe there are only a handful of these high-error, high-grade 1964D pennies still in existence. Others think more may be hidden away in private collections or even sitting unnoticed in jars of old change. That possibility that you might find a multimillion-dollar penny in your pocket keeps the excitement alive. Stories circulate every year of people discovering rare coins worth small fortunes, sparking new waves of treasure hunting across the world. There's also the psychological and historical fascination with Lincoln himself. The Lincoln cent is one of the most recognized coins ever made, representing a century-long tribute to one of America's greatest presidents. The fact that such an iconic coin could harbor unimaginable hidden value only adds to its charm. The 1964D penny, minted during a transformative period in the country's economic history, stands as a symbol of resilience, precision, and the occasional imperfection that turns ordinary into extraordinary. Let's not forget that the $320 million valuation didn't happen overnight. Over the decades, coin collecting has evolved into a sophisticated market, blending art, science, and investment. My dear friends, now we go to another fascinating and mind-blowing episode where we dive deep into the world of hidden treasures that might be lying right in your pockets, drawers, or coin jars at home. Today's story will completely change the way you look at every single penny you come across, because we're talking about one of the most extraordinary coins ever minted in the United States, the 1973 Lincoln cent. This isn't just any ordinary penny, this is a coin that has captured the imagination of collectors, historians, and investors around the world. Some rare specimens of the 1973 Lincoln penny, especially those with special minting errors and unique die varieties, are rumored to be worth up to an unbelievable $315 million. Yes, a single cent valued at hundreds of millions of dollars because of its minting history, its anomalies, and the pure fascination that surrounds it. Now imagine for a moment finding an old 1973 penny in your change, worn, shiny, or perhaps slightly reddish from age, and realizing that this little piece of copper could be worth more than luxury mansions, cars, and even private jets combined. It might sound impossible, but when you understand what makes this coin so incredibly special, you'll see how mistakes, timing, and rarity come together to create something truly priceless. The 1973 Lincoln cent belongs to a period of transition in U.S. coinage, a time when minting technology was evolving, the composition of coins was under review, and the U.S. Mint was producing billions of coins each year. These conditions set the stage for rare errors and variations to appear, and some of those rare pieces became the holy grails of coin collecting. The story of the 1973 penny starts with its design, the beloved Lincoln cent that has been part of American currency since 1909. Designed by Victor David Brenner, this coin features the bust of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. By 1973, this design had already become an American classic. But that year, in both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, subtle issues and unintentional flaws gave rise to some of the rarest variations known in the series. The 1973 Lincoln cent, minted in Denver, is particularly famous because of the high number of coins produced, and yet, among those billions, a few stand out as masterpieces of minting error. The coin that is said to have reached the record-shattering valuation of $315 million is believed to possess a combination of extremely rare characteristics: a double die strike, a repunched mint mark, and a unique off-metal composition. Imagine a coin struck twice with perfect alignment on one side but slightly off on the other, giving Lincoln's portrait a faint shadow-like duplication that's visible even to the naked eye. Add to that a mint mark that was hand-punched in slightly the wrong position and corrected, and you already have something extraordinary. But what truly pushes this coin into a league of its own is the possibility that it was struck on the wrong metal planchet, an error so rare that it transforms an everyday coin into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Let's go back in time for a moment. The early 1970s were a turbulent period for the U.S. Mint. Inflation was rising, and there were growing discussions about the cost of producing coins. Copper prices were fluctuating, and the Mint had been testing alternative materials for coinage. Although the Lincoln cent continued to be made mostly of copper, the period's experiments meant that occasional mistakes could happen. It's entirely possible that some 1973 cents were accidentally struck on experimental planchets meant for other denominations or even for foreign contracts. When such an error occurs, the resulting coin can have a slightly different weight, color, or magnetic property. A penny struck on a dime planchet, for example, might appear lighter and have a silvery tone, while one struck on a foreign planchet could have an unexpected sheen or sound when dropped. These are the anomalies collectors live for, the mysterious signs that something went unexpectedly right in the minting process. Another reason the 1973 Lincoln cent is so prized is because of the double die obverse error. In normal minting, each die used to strike the coins is carefully prepared so that the design is clear and crisp. But sometimes, when a die is being created, it can receive more than one impression slightly out of alignment. When that die is used to strike coins, the resulting images appear double the date, lettering, and even Lincoln's features can show ghost-like repetition. This doubling is especially fascinating on coins from the 1970s because it occurred during a period of high production and limited quality control, making some of these pieces incredibly distinctive. Collectors search tirelessly for these double die errors. In some 1973 examples, the word liberty, or the phrase "I in God we trust," appears with visible doubling under magnification, making these coins instant rarities. And when such a double die coin also happens to have a repunched mint mark, an error that happens when the tiny D for Denver is stamped more than once or slightly off position, the result is a combination of two of the most desirable types of mint errors. But what truly elevates a coin like this to hundreds of millions of dollars is not just the error, it's the perfection of its condition and the mythology around its discovery. Imagine a 1973 D penny struck perfectly, preserved untouched for decades in a mint state so flawless that it gleams as though it were made yesterday. The luster, the detail, the sharpness of Lincoln's features, the mirror-like finish, all of these contribute to the magic. Coins in perfect condition are graded as MS-70, or near that range, by professional grading services, and such perfection combined with an ultra-rare error makes for an almost priceless artifact. Every coin tells a story, and the story of the 1973 Lincoln cent is one of history, craftsmanship, and serendipity. Each mint mark, each imperfection, is a trace of human hands and mechanical precision working together, and occasionally slipping in ways that give birth to something extraordinary. The Denver Mint, known for its speed and volume, occasionally produced coins with fascinating variations. Under intense pressure to meet demand, small mistakes could easily slip through misaligned dies, minor cracks, and incomplete strikes. These small imperfections, invisible to most people, are golden clues for collectors. Some versions of the 1973 Lincoln cent showed die cracks running through Lincoln's portrait, creating raised lines on the coin's surface that look like scars of history. Others display die chips near the letters or along the rim, giving them a unique signature look. Then there are off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing or shifted, creating an almost artistic asymmetry. Each of these adds to the coin's uniqueness, and in a world where billions of coins look exactly alike, uniqueness is priceless. Now imagine a coin that combines multiple errors: a double die obverse, a repunched mint mark, a faint off-center strike, and a near-perfect uncirculated surface. It's no wonder that such a coin could be valued at over $300 million by passionate collectors who see not just metal but history embodied in copper. One of the theories that adds intrigue to the 1973 penny legend is that some of these error coins may have been part of test runs that were never meant to enter circulation. The mint sometimes struck experimental coins to test dies, metal quality, or machine calibration. These pieces were supposed to be destroyed afterward, but occasionally, a few escaped. If a 1973 D penny like that somehow entered public circulation, its rarity would be nearly incalculable. Over the decades, stories have circulated among coin enthusiasts about such discoveries: a single coin found in a roll of old change, or in a forgotten collection passed down through generations, later identified as something beyond imagination. These stories fuel the passion of coin collectors everywhere, reminding them that even in something as small as a penny, there can be a world of mystery, craftsmanship, and value waiting to be discovered. The fascination with the Lincoln cent goes far beyond its face value. Since its introduction, it has been a canvas for history, celebrating not just Abraham Lincoln's legacy but also the evolution of American minting. From the wheat reverse design to the Lincoln Memorial introduced in 1959, and later to the shield design in 2010, the penny has mirrored the nation's journey. Each decade carries its own tale of design changes, metal composition shifts, and minting quirks. My dear friends, now we go to another incredible and eye-opening video where we dive deep into the mysterious world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and unbelievable discoveries that could be sitting right in your pocket at this very moment. Today's story is one that every coin lover, collector, or even casual viewer will find absolutely fascinating because it's about one of the most extraordinary pennies ever minted in the United States, the 1977 D Lincoln cent. Now, you might look at a simple 1-cent coin and think, how could this tiny piece of copper be worth anything more than a penny? But believe it or not, some rare versions of the 1977 D Lincoln cent are said to be worth up to an astonishing $310 million due to a combination of minting errors, rare die variations, historical circumstances, and the near-perfect condition of some surviving examples. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that's worth more than mansions, luxury cars, or even private islands, and yet it's the same size and shape as every other penny you've ever seen. The 1977 D penny is a symbol of how a small mistake at the US Mint can create something that collectors and historians will chase for decades. Each year, billions of pennies are produced, but only a few stand out as true rarities. The Denver Mint, marked by the D beneath the date on the obverse side, struck countless Lincoln cents that year. And yet among them are a few special coins that tell a story of error, rarity, and perfection that has made them some of the most sought-after treasures in American numismatics. To truly understand why the 1977 D Lincoln cent could be worth hundreds of millions, we have to take a step back into history and explore what was happening in the world of minting during that time. The year 1977 was a fascinating period for the U.S. Mint. The economy was recovering from inflation, the cost of metals was changing rapidly, and coin production had reached staggering levels to meet public demand. Mints in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco were running at full capacity. The Denver Mint, in particular, was pushing out billions of coins, and when production runs that high, even the smallest mechanical or human errors can result in variations that are priceless to collectors. The Lincoln cent itself is a coin with a long and beloved legacy. It features the bust of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, first introduced in 1909. The design has stood the test of time, becoming one of the most iconic coins in U.S. history. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial design introduced in 1959 reflects the monumental impact of Lincoln's legacy. But during the 1970s, the process of creating these coins wasn't as automated or precise as it is today. Dies were still sometimes hand-punched, and mint marks were applied manually. That's where the magic and the mistakes often happen. One of the key reasons the 1977 D penny has reached legendary status is due to the presence of error varieties that make certain examples extremely rare. One such error is the famous doubled die. This occurs when the die that stamps the coin receives two impressions from the master hub, slightly out of alignment. The result is a coin that shows doubled images of the design, perhaps on Lincoln's eye, the date, or the words Liberty and I in God We Trust. On a 1977 D penny, such doubling can be subtle or dramatic, but either way, it turns a common coin into an extraordinary collectible. Another type of error that adds immense value is the repunched mint mark, or RPM. Back in the 1970s, mint marks were still added to the dies by hand. If the worker accidentally struck the mark twice in slightly different spots, or at a different angle, the result would be a tiny but noticeable doubling of the D mint mark. For most people, it would be nearly invisible, but for coin experts, it's a signal of rarity. Some 1977 D Lincoln cents exhibit this fascinating feature, where you can see a faint shadow or second impression of the mint mark under magnification. Each variation tells a different story, and collectors prize these coins for their individuality. But what pushes this particular penny's value into astronomical levels, the $310 million mark, is when multiple rare features occur together. Imagine a coin with a double die obverse, a repunched mint mark, an off-center strike, and a pristine, uncirculated surface with full red luster. Combine that with the possibility that it was struck on a transitional or off-metal planchet, and you have a once-in-a-lifetime find. Transitional errors occur when a coin is accidentally struck on metal intended for a different denomination or composition. For instance, it's possible that a 1977 D Lincoln cent could have been struck on a blank meant for a dime, nickel, or even a foreign coin. This kind of error creates a coin that looks and feels different, perhaps slightly lighter, thinner, or with a different tone of copper. These off-metal or transitional errors are some of the rarest and most valuable coins in existence. Combine that with perfect preservation, meaning the coin was never circulated, never scratched, and kept in ideal conditions for decades, and you have the perfect storm that can elevate a coin from pocket change to museum masterpiece. The few known examples of flawless 1977 D pennies with extraordinary errors have stunned the numismatic community with their sheer rarity, and the prices collectors are willing to pay for them. It's worth remembering that the Denver Mint was one of the most productive facilities in U.S. history. In 1977 alone, it produced more than 4 billion pennies. With that kind of volume, quality control becomes a challenge. Even a single die misalignment or mint mark mistake could result in thousands of unique coins. But because most were circulated heavily, very few of those error coins survived in perfect condition. The handful that did are now the holy grails of Lincoln cent collecting. Now, let's explore some of the specific errors and variations that have made the 1977 D Lincoln cent such a legend. One of the most famous is the double die obverse, where the doubling is visible in Lincoln's eye and the lettering. The subtle shadow-like duplication gives the coin an almost three-dimensional look. Another interesting variation is the die crack error, where the minting die develops small fractures during use. When coins were struck with these cracked dies, raised lines or blobs appeared on the surface of the coin's unique features that make each piece one of a kind. There are also known examples of 1977 D pennies with die chips, small imperfections where metal filled the die cavity, leaving raised bumps or dots on the finished coin. In some cases, these occur near Lincoln's beard, the letters of Liberty, or even inside the numbers of the date. While minor die chips might not make a coin worth millions, when combined with other major errors, they contribute to its uniqueness and therefore to its incredible value. Another factor that influences the price of any rare coin is its condition. Coin grading is an exact science, with professional grading services like PCGS and NGC evaluating each coin based on luster, strike quality, and surface preservation. Coins graded MS67, MS68, or even MS70 are considered top tier, and when such high grades are combined with rare errors, the results can be astronomical. The $310 million 1977 D penny is believed to be in flawless condition with perfect shine, no visible blemishes, and a deep, radiant copper tone that makes it look almost newly minted even after nearly 50 years. Beyond the physical attributes, there's also a deeper historical and emotional connection that adds to its mystique. The 1977 D penny represents the craftsmanship and challenges of an era before digital precision took over. Every detail, from the placement of the mint mark to the pressure of the strike, involved human oversight. That human element, with all its potential for error, is what makes these coins so interesting. They remind us that perfection can sometimes arise out of imperfection, that a tiny mistake made by a mint worker decades ago could create something priceless today. The fascination with this coin also comes from the mystery surrounding how such examples survived. It's believed that some might have been set aside by mint employees who noticed unusual features or preserved by collectors who recognized their potential early on. Others may have simply been forgotten, sitting in rolls of coins tucked away in attics or safety deposit boxes. My great fellows, now we are going to explore the incredible tale of the 2021 Lincoln penny, a coin that's officially worth just 1 cent, but one rare version of this ordinary looking coin has been valued at an astonishing $304 million. Yes, you've heard that right, $304 million for a single penny minted in 2021. This coin, marked with the proud image of Abraham Lincoln and the simple word liberty, carries a story that stretches far beyond its copper-plated zinc surface. It's a story of rare errors, minting mysteries, human mistakes, and hidden possibilities that have turned one of America's most common coins into one of its most valuable treasures. Now imagine this: billions of pennies are struck every year by the United States Mint, and most of them look identical. They pass through millions of hands, tossed into jars, dropped in car seats, and forgotten in pockets. But once in a generation, one of those pennies comes out just a little bit different, a tiny imperfection invisible to the casual eye, but so significant in the world of coin collecting that it becomes a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. The 2021 Lincoln cent is one such coin. To most people, it's just a shiny penny. But to collectors and experts, it's a masterpiece born out of a perfect storm of minting conditions, metal inconsistencies, and human oversight that combined to create something absolutely unique. To understand how a penny from 2021 could possibly be worth more than the world's most expensive luxury homes, we first need to step into the story of how the Lincoln penny has evolved through time. The Lincoln cent has been a part of American life since 1909, introduced to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin became an instant symbol of American pride and history. Through decades, its design has evolved. The reverse changed from wheat ears to the Lincoln Memorial in 1959, and then to the Union Shield design starting in 2010, which continues today. The 2021 penny carries that same shield, strong, bold, and symbolic of national unity, with Lincoln's portrait on the front, facing right, with the words "I in God we trust" above, liberty on the left, and the date on the right. Just beside the tiny mint mark that tells you where it was made. In 2021 pennies were struck at multiple U.S. mints: Philadelphia No Mint Mark, Denver D, and San Francisco S. The Denver Mint, known for its high production volume, was responsible for billions of these coins. But here's where things get fascinating. Amidst that massive production, a small number of coins were struck with errors so rare and specific that they have become legends. These errors are what transform an everyday penny into a coin worth hundreds of millions. The 2021 D penny that reached this legendary value is believed to have been struck with a combination of rare minting errors, a perfect storm that would be nearly impossible to replicate. Let's break down what could have caused such an extraordinary outcome. The first and most important type of error linked to this coin is the doubled die obverse error. This happens when the die used to strike the coin receives two impressions from the master hub, slightly offset. The result is a doubling effect on the coin's design. The date, letters, and sometimes even Lincoln's eye or lips may appear doubled. These doubling effects are subtle but unmistakable under magnification. On the 2021 D Lincoln penny, the doubling was reportedly so precise and clear that the coin looked as if it had been printed twice. The words "Liberty" and "I in God we trust" displayed a ghost-like shadowing effect, creating one of the sharpest doubled die examples ever seen on a modern coin. Next comes the repunched mint mark, or RPM, another rare and highly desirable feature for collectors. Although modern minting uses digital technology, some mint marks and die preparations can still result in minute mechanical shifts that leave a doubled or misplaced D mark on Denver coins. On the rarest 2021 D examples, this tiny mint mark appears to have been struck twice, slightly off-center. For most people, it's a barely noticeable quirk, but for numismatists, it's like discovering a hidden signature that adds immeasurable value. But that's not all. The $304 million penny is also rumored to have been struck on the wrong planchet, meaning it wasn't even supposed to be a penny. The U.S. Mint strikes coins of various denominations, and sometimes, blank discs of metal intended for nickels, dimes, or foreign coins accidentally find their way into the penny production line. When that happens, a coin comes out lighter or heavier than usual, with a different color or thickness. The 2021 penny in question may have been struck on a bronze planchet, a metal mixture used decades ago before the penny's composition was changed to copper-plated zinc. The result is a coin that not only looks different under light but also sounds different when dropped. That difference in metal can turn an already rare coin into something priceless. Then there are the die cracks and die chips, small imperfections that form as the metal die is used to strike the coins wear out. On the 2021 penny, these appear as raised lines or dots on the surface, often on Lincoln's shoulder or near the lettering. One particularly famous variety from 2021 shows what collectors call the cracked skull or die break on Lincoln's head, creating a dramatic raised line that looks almost like a scar. Errors like these give each coin a distinct personality, and when combined with other rare features, they elevate its worth to unimaginable heights. Now let's talk about condition, one of the most important factors determining a coin's value. For a 2021 penny to be worth hundreds of millions, it would have to be in absolutely pristine, uncirculated condition, what collectors call mint state, MS perfection. Coins graded MS69 or MS70 by professional services like PCGS or NGC are considered flawless, with no scratches, marks, or discolorations visible even under magnification. The coin that reportedly reached the $304 million mark was said to be a perfect example, untouched, brilliantly lustrous, and preserved in its original brilliance. Imagine how this could have happened. Somewhere in the Denver Mint, during a massive production run, a single coin emerges with a once-in-a-lifetime combination of errors: a double die obverse, a repunched mint mark, a wrong planchet composition, and flawless condition. Perhaps a mint worker noticed it, perhaps not. It could have slipped through unnoticed, finding its way into circulation, hiding in a roll of coins, or resting in someone's change jar for months. Years later, a collector or a curious individual picks it up, sees something unusual under light, inspects it closely, and realizes they're holding a treasure that could change their life forever. That's how legends in coin collecting are born. To put the value in perspective, think about this: a single cent from 2021, if it's a regular coin, can barely buy anything. But the one with these extraordinary characteristics could buy entire mansions, rare cars, and art collections. It could fund entire museums. And yet, at its core, it's still the same penny most people overlook every day. That contrast between the ordinary and the extraordinary is what makes the world of numismatics so captivating. The reason such coins fetch astronomical prices also has to do with rarity and demand. There might only be one or two of these 2021 era pennies in existence, or perhaps just one perfect example. When there's only one of something, and it carries historical and visual significance, collectors and investors will compete fiercely to own it. At auctions, bidders from around the world, from private collectors to institutions, drive the price higher and higher. The passion to own a piece of history, a piece of perfection, pushes the value into the millions. The 2021 penny also symbolizes the evolution of coin minting. Even with advanced digital machinery, laser engraving, and strict quality control, the human element still plays a role. Tiny vibrations, micro misalignments, or planchet feed errors can create conditions for these anomalies. In a way, the 2021 era penny proves that even in a world of precision and technology, accidents can create art, small metallic artworks that carry both beauty and mystery. Collectors are constantly on the lookout for 2021 pennies with unique features. They examine rolls of coins, using magnifying glasses and microscopes to spot minute details others might miss.